So we've one pitch left. This company is so freaking cool. I met the founder and CEO for the first time tonight, but the first time I ever saw him was when I was working at a Starbucks up in Carmel. That's basically Canada for you downtown dwellers, but it's this place up north where some people live and dine and send their kids to school and stuff. But anyways, I saw him and his co-founder there many times as they were hatching this awesome idea that he's going to tell you about. And I remember seeing them, met him for the first time tonight. It was like meeting a celebrity because I think their company's so cool. So we're going to play a video about this company before he comes up. And there will be no talking during the video. You need to pay attention and be quiet. And I'm going to give Kyle my tomato. You all signed a waiver. If you get hit in the face, you signed it with PackSafe. You just didn't know it. If you get hit in the face with the tomato, you can't sue. You can sue Kyle. You can't sue Verge or Powder Keg. All right. So here's the video.
First became an entrepreneur at some point in the past that I don't think I can really remember because, like every kid, I had a little lawn business, and then when I was in high school, I promoted parties, and that was fun and made me relatively popular in high school. But I made money at it, and I didn't think anything of it. It just was. People always say, "Well, what is SteadyServ and what does it do?" And so, breaking it down into simplest elements, we are a beverage analytics company. We provide actionable intelligence to different stakeholders that need to make real-time decisions to increase revenue, profitability, and patron experience. We've been told functionally that you can't do what you say you can do. Well, we now have 5 patents, and we are doing it. And then they said, well, nobody will adopt it. And for a long time, they were right. It was really hard to get the adoption. But at some point, there was a tipping point, and now the adoption is speeding up, and we're able to show brewers and retailers things that they before said were functionally impossible to know. And today, they tell us that data is absolute gold for them. So we've gone from the art of the possible, where it was nothing more than an idea in a deck, to patents, data, and outputs that is helping large businesses and small businesses improve their overall performance.
All right, please welcome to stage founder and CEO of SteadyServ, Steve Hirschberger.
Kyle, these are for you, because you know what happens when I don't have these, right? So please join retailers in 56 cities in 3 countries in saying hello to iKeg. So what is iKeg? Well, it's a SaaS software application that on occasion uses IoT technology, Internet of Things. Not always, but sometimes. So this is the last year in beer. So the last year in beer, there were $107.6 billion worth of beer sold in North America. Now, that is 3 times larger than Major League Baseball, ticketing, television, and merchandising combined. They made a movie and a book about that. The beer industry every year vacillates a couple of points. It grows a couple of points, it shrinks a couple of points, but people say, well, it's 2 points. What's the big deal? Well, it's $2 billion. So that's a lot of money. Kyle, can you move your tomato and your beer, please? This is my prop. So I'm going to drink. That was
going to take control of the tomato.
Dude, that was mine. It was. Well, spit now. I don't want it. Can somebody bring me a beer?
Sorry, Neil.
Jesus Christ.
You squeezed the tomato.
What's this? Oh, shit. I'm old. What is that?
Keg.
Keg of what? What's in it? Yeah, no shit. What kind of beer? Can you tell? Can't tell. How much is left? How old is it? Can't tell. This is a box of bottled and canned beer. What's in it? Thank you. Again, no shit. What kind? No idea. Why? Because everybody guesses. Nobody knows. Thank you. Thank you. Nobody knows. So what happened in last year beer doesn't matter. What happens today matters. Yesterday's the past. Today counts. So it's called time value money for a reason. What if you knew in an establishment here or in Tacoma or Seattle what was happening? What if you knew what was going to happen next as it relates to what product was consumed? What if you had a near perfect intelligence to gain a market advantage? What if you knew and everybody else was guessing? Would that be important to you? Raise your hand if you've ever been to an establishment and ordered a beer and somebody said either we're out or we don't have it. That's about half, right? According to Beer Institute, and there is such a thing, when a consumer's choice is not available, they will drink 1/3 less. And in the U.S. last year, there were 6 billion pints of beer served at an average price of $5.50, which is an opportunity cost of $690 million, which was the equivalent of Harley-Davidson's global net income. So, to solve the problem, you got to be like Watson. Who knows what Watson is? IBM's Watson. So you leverage greater intelligence, and essentially that's what we do. We use our system to pull information from POS systems as well as the world's largest database of beer, which we own, as well as some other technologies to provide analytics which tell people exactly what's going to sell, when, where, in what amount, and what mix. And then we add to that these lovely things. If you look over the bar, you see these digital beer menus, which tells you what's on tap, or can tell you what's on tap and what's in bottles and cans. But if you rotate contextual advertising into that based on what's selling, jump ahead, this happens. So this is what happens when beer sells. And this actually is a chain called Blackfin out on the East Coast. When they know what's happening and they're using the system, they sell more beer. When they promote it, they sell a lot more product, a lot more. So spotting trends in retail is very important. You only can do that if you know what to look for. Data is the new bacon. I don't know why I put that in, it just sounded good. You got to have 3 characteristics of value for data to work. It's got to be accurate, and it's got to be relevant, and it's got to be timely. So do you trust it? The question is, do you guys trust your mobile apps? Do you trust Google Maps more than the guy on the street corner that gave you directions? You probably do. And the reason is because it works, and it works consistently. So our retailers trust us because the system works. Well, people say, well, how do you know that they trust it? This is to your point. We have a 98.2% retention rate. So if they are using it and they're in compliance and we keep them, there's obviously value. Our data is growing at an exponential rate. I know you can stand. You can drink my beer. All right. So today, we manage lots of data. We download almost 100,000 unique POS records a day, every single day. And we service retailers in all of these locations. These are geos. And as we grow into 2018, we do this. And we go from managing beer, which is what we do today, because we are a beverage analytics firm, to managing beer, spirits, and wine, which I know what was coming. We collect all of this data. We collect all the beverage data. We also collect all the food data. So we know everything that is occurring within a retail environment. By the end of 2018, we should be, if not the largest holder of on-premise POS data, one of the few largest in North America. So we've got 5 patents that are US-based and 2 international, and then we expect a few more over the course of the coming year. So that's SteadyServ in 6.5 minutes.
Right. How awesome was that? I always think the best ideas are the ones that I look at and go, God damn it, why didn't I think of that? How many of you out there right now are thinking, shit, why didn't I think of that? Right? Liars, all of you are. Okay. Questions? Who's going first?
Okay, so I've been to your office. I've seen the product. I know it's a disc that you put underneath the keg and measure. And then can you speak a little bit to the the concept, if I own this bar and I've got this system in the back, like how does this work for me as
Sure.
the end user?
So the discs, believe it or not, used to be all about the product. That was the product, and it has gone from being all of the product to just being a small component of the product, because the discs allow us to measure the change in weight over time in a keg, and that allows us to get at waste and yield and non-sexy accounting stuff that big companies really care about. But what we found by learning and listening to our customers and making lots of mistakes over the course of doing this was that retailers care immensely about the top line. They want to know, they don't want to guess, they want to know, how do I make 35% more revenue? Because over the course of the last year, making 10% was really hard. So our job for larger retailers is that have systems, tools, processes, and compliance standards is to give them the smart scale that sits underneath the keg so that they can manage yield, manage waste. But for the vast majority of retailers, help me sell more product. And that's what we do.
So, back in the day, I worked in bars and restaurants, and I recall what the floor of a beer cooler looked like.
Yeah.
This is nasty, and I know when I changed those kegs, I used to drop them from 6 inches and just listen to it go bang. So tell me how you overcome that inherently dangerous environment.
So yes, coolers are wet, dirty, nasty, dangerous places. This keg of beer full weighs 170 pounds. When you drop it from 4 feet, it no longer weighs 170 pounds, it weighs 550 pounds. So drop it on a foot, you break toes. Just a reality. So the question becomes, how do you build a piece of hardware that is idiot-proof and gorilla-proof, right? And the answer is, it's really hard. And it takes a lot of effort to build a system that can withstand the physical rigors of that, which we were able to do. A system maintains over 2,000 pound smash force. It operates in a wet environment, temperature variance from 0 degrees to 120 degrees, humidity, the same range. But the software that controls it, the brain, was ultimately more important, because if I can break all the beer in here, because that really doesn't matter, it's just a prop. I take the smart scale and I kick it underneath, drop the keg back on top, and it self-centers and levels, and that's all I have to do, and I'm done. That makes it relatively easy. Not perfectly easy, but relatively easy, which is why it works in larger environments where there's more discipline.
Thank you.
So historically, restaurants, hospitality have fairly high churn rates in general, comparatively to other industries, right?
400%.
400% churn, is that a stat?
That's a stat.
Awesome. So that's a lot.
It's
over
actually
a lot, actually. That's
huge.
It's huge.
Huge.
My question has nothing to do with Trump. I'd like everybody to know that. How do you deal with the selling process of this? Because you need people to understand and use the product effectively. And if you have 400% churn, do you have to go back continuously and try to resell employees or buyers of the product within restaurants?
Man, that's a great question. And the answer is found in lots of mistakes over time. And what we learned was part of the solution is found in the software and the application itself that makes it intuitive, so whoever picks it up has prescriptive prompts that says, you may not be the current or the past manager, you may be the current manager, and these things are important to you. Here are the 7 things you need to do, and here's what's important, and here's how you need to do it. All of that's well and good if they're paying attention. So we make the assumption that they don't always pay attention. So we have machine learning tools that allow our CSMs, our customer service managers, to flag behaviors that are on the spectrum. Change in behavior, good or bad. Really bad behavior, what we call compliance, or really good behavior. So we look at compliance at a 95% rate. So if you're doing 100% of this stuff right to 95% of the stuff right, you're in the green zone. If you've changed in some period of time, what are you not doing? Which means that you probably knew. If you're doing stuff that's above 100%, believe it or not, you can do that, then what we want to know that too, because we want to reach out and say, hey, Kyle, you mastered this, you're doing a great job. Way to go. Virtual fist bump. Or, hey, Kyle, looks like you're new. You're struggling with doing inventory. How can we help?
Thank you.
Kyle, bringing the heat. That's a good question. All right, let's hear it for Steve and SteadyServ. Good stuff.